Well, joining us live now for more on this is the former IDF spokesperson, Jonathan Conricus, who often provides us with some excellent insight to what's going on. Jonathan, thanks for your time. So, look, a little shy on details, as Alistair just pointed out then, but what do you understand this mission to be here? What's the ultimate goal?
Yes, thank you for having me. Hello again. Shy on details, but not shy on drama. And short on one very important name and organization, which really is the reason for everything happening. And that is the terrorist organization that launched the war on October the 7th and that took 251 Israelis and other nationals hostage and is still holding on to 59 Israelis and other nationalities, 24 of them presumed alive. And that is blatantly missing from the report, and anybody watching might get the wrong impression that this is some imperialist Israeli aggression, when in fact it is Israel defending itself against a terrorist organization. So as to the aim, I think what we're seeing now is Israel extending negotiations on the battlefield and trying to apply more pressure on Hamas in order to release hostages and surrender. If you ask me if it's going to be effective, sadly, I'm quite pessimistic. I don't think that it will have the desired effect on Hamas, and I think that eventually Israel will be left with no other option but to take significant, long, and continuous action against Hamas, and then perhaps unseat them from power and take away their military capabilities that are threatening Israel.
So when you say long, what's the time frame there, indefinitely?
No, nothing is indefinite, not in any part of the world, and definitely not in the Middle East, but longer than before. And, you know, if we compare the war that Hamas started with Israel a year and a half ago to other wars in the Middle East and in the world, usually at the end of main combat operations, there is a significant transition period where the winning side, which in this case will be Israel, actually controls the ground and makes sure that the area can transition from being under the rule of a terrorist organization or a totalitarian organization or the Islamic State, whatever historic reference you'd use, and then to transition into a different type of governance. And I think that is what will eventually happen. So if you're asking about timeframes, I think we're looking at months of high-intensity military operations. I think it's important to know that Hamas, for the time being, they're still hiding in their tunnels. They're not coming out and they're not fighting. I think they will continue. They will do so once Israel will start to distribute food in Gaza. Why is that important? Because then that will be a real threat to Hamas's governance, and then they will come out and they will expose themselves, and then we will see a spike in activity. But in any case, I think we're looking at, again, if Hamas doesn't return the hostages and surrender, we're looking at months of fighting.
Look, I'm quite positive that there'd be booby traps in those tunnels. So, I mean, would you have to take the war into the tunnels, though?
You see, what's preventing Israel from effective tunnel warfare is the fact that we know that Hamas are hiding Israeli hostages inside tunnels. And that restricts the Israeli military's ability to effectively use various tactics and techniques against Hamas as they're hiding in tunnels. Had it not been for the Israeli hostages, then I think that most Hamas terrorists would have been dead already, either suffocated or drowned or otherwise blown to pieces in their tunnels as they're hiding underneath the civilian population and using the Gazans, starving them and using them as their human shields.
All right, Jonathan, thanks for your time as always. It was good insight again. We'll chat to you again soon.